This one sucks.
Okay, did everyone get their essays from their folders? Any essays that they've been writing? There's a bunch of them in there.
Wait, what?
Essay, what's an
No,
essay?
Ooh,
Just any essays that you've written.
I haven't seen.
Any of the rhetorical analyses.
Do I not get these and I'm not taking the test?
Nice get one.
But when I- Oh,
I actually did
of course I'm not.
You got live?
Actually, now that I think about it, today is like our last kind of substantial class that we have together for the test.
Well, you're gonna need 2 essay practices on Friday.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah, we have tests today.
Yep.
Wow,
Wow.
okay. Yeah, I talked about
Oh, it's a thesis, but part of the weird thing I get these from is that it answers the question in prompt. And the prompt is about books being best, good, but also abused, and then the worst. And you're writing about relatives. Yeah. So it was just a misunderstanding of the prompt.
So it's just like one.
Test is on Tuesday.
Well,
What about Monday? I got a song.
I'm not here for Monday. Okay, let me get your attention.
yeah.
All right, I feel like people are still brimming with questions. So if you have a question for me right now about like class business stuff, raise your hand, I'll answer it. Yeah. Yes, you may. Anything else? Yeah, Nat. Oh. Pass it on back to Nat. Does anyone else not have one?
What is this?
Okay, again, if you have questions, you're raising your hand to ask them. What other questions do you have? Okay, you're good. Okay, awesome. So last time, oh wait, maybe I have some things I want to clarify. So this week is the last week to do your review sessions. A lot of you are in really good shape with like 1 left. Some of you have 2 left, and you can definitely do that. We have 1 today after school, tomorrow after school, and 2 on Friday after school. So you have plenty of time to finish them. If you have not done any, is there anyone here who hasn't done any? I don't think so. I think we're okay. But you basically have 4 more chances. So 4 more chances for the essays. Multiple choice, you only have 1 chance left. So if you haven't done another one of those, then you're just going to take a hit on the points. But tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., if you need to get 1 more multiple choice, you can come in for that. Okay, and that is because on Monday, I am not here. Sad for B-Day because I don't see them the day before the test, but whatever, for you guys, it's fine. So Monday I'm not here, so I won't be here after school to do essay review sessions, nothing. Friday's the last day for that assignment. Okay, does anyone have any questions now out of that stuff? If I have you finished with that assignment, I've updated on Skyward as of yesterday. So if you finished yesterday, I haven't yet, and then you can come back and talk to me about if you're confused about how much more you need. Okay, and then also you were going to give me your synthesis. Oh yeah, you put it on there. Okay, good. So we'll talk when I get a chance. Okay, so last time I gave you a list. Well, I didn't give it to you last time. We've been talking about it all year, but we wrote a list of all the different argument sources that you could potentially use, right? All these different sources of things we've done in class. And I will say, of the essays that came in yesterday, the review session yesterday, maybe some of you weren't super happy with if you did an argument, happy with your score. It might have been because you misinterpreted the prompt. It turns out that prompt was really difficult. There was a lot of those, but I will say your examples on the essays you wrote yesterday in those review sessions were great if you did those. So I think this is helping to review all of our argument essays. They were really good. They were really strong. So you had that like bright green paper that you were working on. Will you pull that out again?
Bless you. Salutin na. It's not mine right anymore.
Oh, is it not? Is that sketch? It's 40 minutes, so 1 to 1:40, 2 to 2:40. Yeah. Okay, so you've got a bunch of different sources on that written down, right? If you were on task the whole time, you definitely have like the front of it done, maybe even a little on the back. Okay, I'm not gonna write these back up on the board, so you might need to consult with each other about which sources you can add to this, but I'm gonna give you 15 minutes now to keep working on that green sheet and add as many sources as you can to it. Okay, just 15 minutes.
Is this argument thing I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go on a grade. One time, whatever we're doing with this paper.
No,
I can do it for 1 hour.
you would never slack off though, just because it didn't go on
No,
your
that's
grade.
true. But like, can I do something else?
Oh, do you need help
Yeah,
with your grade?
Well, maybe because my nonfiction that I turned in very late.
Oh. Let's now turn to this cream colored sheet. Ivory, actually, technically it's ivory. And I put them out of order. Go to the second prompt here. We're gonna look at the second one. Okay. Everyone has one of these, right? I just gave out. I thought someone said I got one of these for me and Audrey. All right. So the second prompt, let's read it through. This is a very typical style of prompt where they'll give you a quote and they expect you to be able to see the nuances and the meaning of the quote, and then you'll respond to the quote. So it says, in a 2011 essay in The Atlantic, author and journalist Lori Gottlieb writes, "Nowadays, it's not enough to be happy if you can be even happier. The American dream and the pursuit of happiness have morphed from a quest for general contentment to the idea that you must be happy at all times and in every way." Gottlieb then cites Barry Schwartz, a professor of social theory. "Happiness as a byproduct of living your life is a great thing, but happiness as a goal is a recipe for disaster. Write an essay that argues your position on the claim that pursuing happiness as a goal has detrimental effects." It's a complex. I like this one. I think it's a weird kind of question that I haven't thought about before. What I want you to do, I'm going to give you some lined paper. Don't worry, we're not writing the whole thing. We're writing parts though. At the top of this paper, when you get it, write down the question in your own words. So it's asking you about pursuing happiness, right? But this gives you a chance to figure out what the quote is actually saying. So what is it actually asking you to respond to? Write the question in your own words. Pass them around. It doesn't matter. One paper. So at the top of that page, you're writing the question in your own words. What is this prompt asking? Oh my gosh. Write it at the top of the paper. Yeah, multiple choices and number 2 pencil essay. Scan
Love
color.
life.
Is it wooden?
I think they make it. Okay, write the question in your words.
The question.
The question.
In your own words.
Oh.
Yeah, in your own words. Okay, so this is the question in my own words. Your own words shouldn't look like my own words, but I said, is it a good thing to set a goal of being happy in your life? Now that's the part that it says right here. What's your position on the claim that pursuing happiness as a goal has detrimental effects? Is it a good thing to pursue happiness as a goal, right? But I also want my question, like I want to be thinking about how I'm responding to these quotations. And I think in the book prompt from yesterday, that's kind of where it went wrong, is that the prompt asks you a question about books, but it's asking you to look at the quotation itself, right? So I'm trying to summarize what I think is important in those quotations. I say, when happiness can't be permanent and you can always be happier. I feel like those are the 2 concerns that are brought up in those 2 quotes. One, that you have to be happy at all times and in every way, and that it's not enough to be happy, you can be even happier. And that happiness as a goal is a recipe for disaster, because you're not always going to be happy at every moment. So you'll feel like you failed, you know? So you've got the question in your own words. I want you to take 2 minutes is all, and just brainstorm. So you can be as messy as you want on that paper. Just brainstorm some ideas you have about this. Almost like a stream of consciousness. 2 minutes. What do you think? I'll do it up here too. Okay, but it's gotta be quiet while you do brainstorming. Don't pass drugs out in my class.
Yeah.
You're gonna get me arrested. I'm recording. They'll
Quick,
know.
delete it. Scramble the footage.
Oh, yeah, we always talk.
Quick,
Okay.
scramble.
2 minutes is going. Brainstorming. You brainstormed for a couple minutes. You're starting to get an idea of what your thoughts are about this. You're now going to take 3 minutes to write a thesis. Now, a thesis for an argument, if you will remember, is a claim and a reason. So ultimately, you're kind of trying to decide, are the reasons that these quotes give you valid or not, right? So do you think happiness is a good goal? Do you think happiness is a bad goal, and why? And you can always have complexity in your thesis. You do not have to be all one way or the other. You just have to have a position. So you could say, to some degree, having happiness is a great goal because it always pushes you for making your life a little bit better. However, if you always think that happiness is the goal, you are going to, you'll inevitably have moments of guilt, something like that. So you can have these kind of like, they're a little wishy-washy, but you still have a firm position. You're basically defining like the lines here of when happiness is a good goal versus not. Does that make sense? So it doesn't have to be so simplistic, but it does need to be a kind of firm position, claim and reason. Okay, 3 minutes for that. Give it a go. Okay. All right, you also want to set yourself up with a little bit of an outline at the beginning. So my outline is going to start with the counter argument. It can be a good life goal because it leads us away from more superficial pursuits. So I think that will be my number one. Superficial equals bad. So I'm going to be talking about, it makes it so you're not so focused on money or on power or whatever. But then I'm going to say, but actually life has a range of emotions. And if we don't learn to deal with those emotions, ability to cope with adversity, we will be in trouble. We need to be able to cope with adversity. And so it is actually better, I want to focus instead on what I'll call emotional health, and I'll try to, oh, my therapy talk coming through. I'll try to like talk about, a balance, that kind of thing. Okay, so I'll have 4 body paragraphs, I think. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes now to just plan. Do you see how like really basic my points are? I am not saying at the beginning in your essay you should be writing full topic sentences. If that helps you, you could. But I do really suggest that before you start writing your essay, you first write a thesis and just a really basic little outline so you know what you're going into. Total, this should take you about 5 to 8 minutes to write this part. So I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to do the outline now. Okay. Did you get a little outline written there? Awesome. Okay. Now, this part I'm going to give you a little bit more time because I don't suggest necessarily that you do this right at the beginning. You could, if things are jumping to mind, you can plug in a few sources like I've tried to start here. For me, it works better to just, as I am writing, start to think about the sources that are applying to the things that I am saying. That gives me a little bit of leeway to change things up as I'm going. But I do want, as like kind of an exercise, I want you to think about what you can include. I want you to include at least one source from this class to back up these ideas. So for example, number 1, I'm not using something from this class. I'm going to talk about our career focus in schools and how it's not so good. Number 2, I want to talk about how we'll inevitably experience a range of emotions, and it might be awkward to fit this in, so I will see how it goes, but I might talk about Frederick Douglass there and like a life experience that even in like adversity has moments of happiness and vice versa. I know I'm going to use Gatsby for coping with adversity because Gatsby's whole thing about no, Daisy can only love me, like I can only have positive emotions in this life is really problematic for him, right? So I'm going to stick with him for that. I still need to think about what I'm going to use for emotion.
Is it bad to like? Is it a bad idea to use like the quote from the answer?
It's not necessarily a bad idea, but that quote gets a little lengthy. Like if you were to use both quotes, you don't have to use the quote. So I do see sometimes in the intro, people will write the quote word for word. You don't necessarily have to do that.
But can you use it as like evidence for something, or is it better to use it?
That's interesting. I think you could use it as evidence. You could use it as a way to kind of say, oh, it's weak points, But I think you'd want to combine it with another facility. You wouldn't want it to just stand up. That's my favorite. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to think about sources that could fit in each of your points. And if you put multiple so that you have options while you would be writing. Oh, who said Laura?
Okay, I think that the prompt already builds in that it's subjective. And I think it kind of detracts from your style. Just focusing on whether or not it's like both sides. Because what I'm seeing is like, if you want to say that happiness is subjective, I think someone reading that would say, oh yes, of course, I'm talking about happiness for an individual. You know, I don't know that it would be a strong argument. Sorry.
Yes, Gracie. 1 second. Behind setting goals to improve oneself and their life. You've got some pronoun issues here, Kaylee. Oneself and their life. It either needs to be oneself and one's life, or for people to improve themselves and their lives. So it's a plurality thing. 1 second. The goal setter. I think it works, but I think you might be arguing like a linguistic argument rather than a like real argument, if that makes sense, like a substantial argument. Because right now you're saying like goals equal happiness, right? But I don't necessarily know if that answers the prompt the way that Lori Gottlieb has defined happiness. Because which we want to take it like for what they actually mean there, which is that if you don't have these clear, well, I think what you're saying is if you don't have these clear actually like career goals or family goals, like material goals, then you can't just expect to achieve happiness. I maybe would move it in that direction rather than just saying that happiness cannot actually be a goal. Because there are a lot of people who say like, well, my goal in life is to be happy. I'll go with the flow, you know, and that's kind of what they're arguing against. I hope that makes sense. I'm gonna go check with somebody else.
Literally, just like.
Is this the piece right here?
Yes.
I think you get a little bit repetitive. Okay. Because you're trying to fit this word because in, but I actually think you already have it. So we're always trying to be happy. Be left feeling unsatisfied and feeling failure. Yeah, okay. Explain out loud what you want.
Okay, so
kind of the things,
I like to like.
it's kind of easier if I just like, learn, like,
Like
like,
this. Like.
it's important to like, oh, I think I said it down here, I said it's important to, it's like, I use like, it's a limit to try and maintain a current.
Okay. 1 second, keep going.
And that way, I could feel like it was like their duty to like improve their situations, like in like from jail and like civil disobedience.
Good.
So I would incorporate both of those. And so,
So it's our duty to try and feel happiness in the present moment.
and people having like hopes that we can be happier in the future, but not letting that stop us feeling happy now, because I don't know, it's like
Yes,
kind of
okay.
over.
So it is our duty to try and make ourselves happier because it maintains us. Yes.
I bet
However, we need to be wary that, well, however, you still have to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So I think that the order, is important to be happy. So flip it. You would start with negative and positive. So basically you set it up as, basically you set it up as an argument about being happy ultimately with a worry. Like a little cat dog, right? But you I would think about the worry, try and get it as streamlined as possible. But we're moving on from it. It's good as a first start. Okay. Okay, you got it? You got all your sources? All right, awesome. Good. Were you able to use one source from this class? Was it a source other than Gatsby?
Yes.
Good. Okay, good. Good. Gatsby is the easiest one to use, I think. So I was just wondering. So what I want you to do now, I want you to write the first 2 paragraphs of this essay. So the intro. So you're going to write the intro with a yes. Oh,
Like examples, like sources.
great question. So in your argument essays, you're going in without any like actual text in front of you, right? The synthesis has the text. You guys are doing great with that. You incorporate the quotes. Arguments, it's all coming from your own head. You need to aim to have at least one piece of evidence, one source, but not necessarily a source. Like here, career focus in schools. I don't have a source for that. It's just an example, right? You need to have one example for each paragraph.
Is the synthesis or the argument first?
Synthesis is first.
So what if you read a source from the synthesis?
You could totally use it in the argument.
What? That's so cool.
Yeah, it'd be good. But usually they're about like
Right.
stuff.
So,
Okay, you guys are gonna write. You're gonna write the intro. Your intro is either a hook or a funnel. If you're good, so there's a few of you in here, like I think Austin's really good at this. There are a few of you in here that are awesome at hooks. Like you just can think of them quickly. You're just like, oh, this relates to this experience, and I'll write about that to hook someone in. I am not that person. I am not a hook writer. I have to, if I'm gonna write in time, like I would love to write hooks if I have all the time in the world. Wait, what?
She's not a hooker.
I'm not a hook person. No. So if I, yeah, that's right. So if I have a time limit, I'm not gonna write a hook intro. I'm gonna write a funnel because that's where you kind of start broad and go more narrow, and that just comes way quicker than me. You choose the one that comes quicker, because your intro is not the most important part of your paper. The intro can get you those sophistication point, but your body paragraphs are so much more important. So hook or funnel, either way, no more than 3 to 4 sentences. Short intros. I'm gonna change that. Let's say 4 to 5.
Last year.
Oh my, but your papers were longer.
That was
Thesis
so
at
difficult.
the end of the. Okay, so if I'm like like looking at this lined paper, my intro is not gonna go past the halfway point on the page. That's kind of what we're looking at for an intro length. I mean, that's totally arbitrary, because some of you write tiny and some of you write big, but you don't want to spend too much time on it, because then you get into your first body paragraph. This is where you've got an awesome topic sentence that tells you the argument for the paragraph. Now, this is why we practice the structure so much, is because my argument for the paragraph is not here. I'm gonna cross it out. That is my example for the paragraph, right? My argument for the paragraph is the first point of my thesis statement. So I'm gonna include the argument for my paragraph, topic sentence, first sentence, and then I'm going to, commentary on example. So you don't have to do the rest of it. I really, the issue I'm seeing is in the top. So you're right, these two paragraphs, an intro and a first body paragraph. I am going to give you, I'm gonna give you 13 minutes to write it. Goes fast. We're gonna try. Yes. Raise your hand if you need more paper.
No idea. Laptop's working.
Like the letter of the law, not the spirit of the law.
I was so.
Okay, if anyone needs more paper while they're writing, just come up and grab one. This is the last push. This is like the last intense thing we're doing in this class. Are you ready for it?
Totally.
Okay. Ready, go.
30 seconds, wrap up your sentence that you're on.
All right, how many of you were able to finish the intro and the first paragraph? Excellent, excellent, all right. So in terms of timing, well, let's just go over the test because I'll see you Friday, actually, we can talk about it there. In terms of timing though, I would spend 5 minutes planning your essay, maybe 8 minutes planning your essay, no longer than that. And then get going, write a short intro and get into those body paragraphs because the body paragraphs are where you're doing the bulk of the work. That's where you're like really showing why these examples prove each point and creating nuance and all of that. I think I would like you to give yourself a score. The top of the page. This side. The top of the page. It's not going on your grades or anything, so try and do it like with the dashes, right? 1 point, 3 points, 0 points, you know?
This one has so many recording strategies and I'm only in like page 2.
Really?
Yeah,
We've got numbers. That's cool.
it's got like hypophoras and Lucian's references, figurative language.
Don't you wish you were just writing an essay about it right now?
Well, I haven't read enough,
Good,
but
Kaylee,
yeah, I
I'm
know.
glad. Awesome.
Reading a book.
All right, anyone on track to get a 6, do you think?
100%.
All right, anyone getting a 5?
I
Think,
I
maybe?
have to do this instead.
All right, how about a 4? 4s? I think so. Okay, any 3s? You're being hard on yourself. I think you guys are doing great. With the structure, it's just a matter of remembering all those different examples that you can use. So we will wrap up all of our reviews on Friday. You don't need to turn this in. It was for your own practice. And we're done. Keep them till after the test. I mean, I guess for you, if you want to just put it in the drawer so you don't lose it, that'd be fine. Okay, Kaylee, do you have any questions for me?